Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Baldrige Foundation's quarterly webinar, the 2023 Baldrige Enterprise Update. Before we get started today, I would like to take an opportunity to thank all of our donors and sponsors, especially the members of the Mac Baldrige Society who serve as trustees for the Institute for Performance Excellence. Here's today's agenda. Bob Fangmeyer, the director of the Baldrige Performance Excellence Program, will be giving an update on the Baldrige program. I'll give a brief update on the foundation, followed by Brian Lassiter's update on the Alliance for Performance Excellence and state-based programs. And Stephanie Norling of Communities of Excellence 2026 will update us from her. Questions from the audience will then be part of our panel discussion, and we will have closing remarks. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, Bob.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. Today, I'm going to provide an update on the program covering a variety of topics, including the Quest for Excellence Conference, an update on the Baldrige Framework, the Baldrige Executive Fellows Program, and an update on the external program review that's still ongoing. Next slide, Jerry. So Quest for Excellence, we are so thrilled that Quest is right around the corner, just over 8 days away or so, April 2nd to the 5th at the Gaylord National Harbor. We are very excited this year. We, of course, will, as always, be highlighting our award recipients' best practices across the award criteria categories. But this year, we also have a special emphasis on our award recipients' efforts around innovation, as well as a special focus on communities of excellence. We have 2 keynote speakers this year, which is a little bit unusual for us, but we're excited about it. We have Duncan Wardle, who is the former head of innovation and creativity at Disney. And we have Donald Berwick, who many of you may know. He's the president emeritus and senior fellow of the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, and he is also the former administrator of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We're very excited to have both of our keynote speakers, and I'm sure you will enjoy hearing from them. Our special sessions this year for Quest include, again, that focus on communities of excellence, but we also will be focusing on several of our new initiatives that are born out of partnerships with various entities, including the Commerce Department and the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. And we'll be focusing on the Job Quality Toolkit, which is something that was highlighted by the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of Labor this past summer. And we'll be highlighting the Advanced Manufacturing Technology Solutions Assessment that we developed in partnership with a couple of manufacturing extension partnership programs, the ones in Illinois and in Florida. So we're thrilled about these. I think there's something special for everybody who can attend. And so I would encourage you to check out the information on our website, www.nist.gov/Baldrige/QE. And if you haven't registered, please do. We'd love to see you. Jerry, next slide. Framework revisions. So for those who aren't aware, the 2023-2024 Baldrige Excellence Framework is now available. And as always, we went through a very robust revision process, which includes an ongoing review of practices that have been proven to support an organization's efforts to improve their performance and be more sustainable. We review prior suggestions that we have received, both from specific requests for input as well as just input that people send to us in an ad hoc type of manner. But we also go out specifically and ask publicly and across the Baldrige community for any additional suggestions or recommendations that they may have. That then flows into a series of focus groups where we provide them all of the inputs along with thematic areas for potential change. The focus group will do a deep dive into all of that and make recommendations back to the program on which changes are most appropriate to make. We then take all of that input, draft changes for the framework, send it out to subject matter experts for their review, and then finalize the product. This year, we had over 100 people representing all different sectors and all of our different stakeholder groups who participated in that revision process. The key changes that have come out of the revisions include a greater emphasis on agility, resilience, and organizational transformation, probably not surprising to anybody. Greater emphasis on workforce engagement and the strengthening of the emphasis on customer experience, as well as a little bit of tightening in on diversity, equity, and inclusion and societal contributions. We also put some effort into trying to clarify some of the expectations and criteria questions related to risk management and innovation. Jerry, next slide, please. The Baldrige Executive Fellows Program continues to be a great success for us, but also for the people who participate, more importantly. And as always, the cohort closes out the day before Quest begins. So this April 1st, coming up this Saturday, we will be closing down the 2022 Fellows cohort. They will be presenting their capstone presentations and sharing the impact that they have had in their organization from working on their capstone. That'll be followed by a very simple sort of graduation ceremony with some pictures, etc., and a nice dinner the night after. Looking forward to that, but then we immediately transition over to the next cohort the very next morning. And the 2023 cohort kicks off the Sunday right before Quest, so the 2nd. And for those who aren't familiar with the Fellows Program, it is a year-long non-residential executive development program. And it's really focused on enabling senior leaders to learn from and build relationships with other successful executives. And we enable this largely by focusing on having the people meet in person. There are some virtual sessions, but the most significant are the 5 in-person events that occur throughout the year. The first is the beginning of Quest, and then they finish again with Quest at the end of the year. But in between, we travel to 3 different award recipients' locations to hear from the senior executives from those organizations, but also the opportunity to be at their facilities, their facilities, where they work, and get to see what they do, see excellence in action. And that's really very powerful. This year, we have 17 participants covering the sectors of healthcare, manufacturing, service, nonprofit, government, and education. Next slide. So the external program review. This, if you've been following along, this is a 6-month-long process that is focused on trying to see if we can reimagine Baldrige to an extent so that we can further advance our ability to accomplish our mission, enhance U.S. competitiveness, improve the economy, and improve our quality of life. The intent is to look at how to increase our impact, increase the accessibility of the program and our offerings. And it does build on prior and ongoing improvement efforts that we've been going through. We recently had a focus group of our judges and overseers, and that working group made a very detailed effort to review the award process and identify barriers to participation and make recommendations, which they did back in June. Those recommendations are incorporated into and a part of, in many ways, the recommendations that are coming out of this external review. The external review does entail heavy engagement with the Baldrige community across all of our key stakeholder groups. Really, we wouldn't want it any other way. And the good news is, so did the contractor. I mean, we all recognize the need to engage all of our stakeholders in understanding what is working well, where there are opportunities, and what a path forward, what the best path forward looks like also. So progress on this, we have recommendations related to the framework and the award. which was the focus of what we call Task 1. As you'll see in a moment, I'm working with NIST leadership to develop a proposal to put forward to the Department of Commerce to get their buy-in on that particular path forward. And in the meantime, we are still working on Task 2, which is focused on the program's other offerings and our public-private partnership overall, so the Baldrige Enterprise. And that report is due out in mid-April. Next slide. So what did we hear in the Task 1 report? For those who are very familiar with Baldrige, these will probably resonate with you. I know they did with me. It was acknowledged that the program has a fantastic group of stakeholders who are very invested in Baldrige and in the framework and the award process. But it was noted that there is a real opportunity for us to have greater alignment to and linkage with various national priorities. It's an important part of getting attention and getting funding these days. And so certainly that's something that resonates with us. Recommendations around transforming the award criteria and the evaluation process to be simpler and more accessible, but not sacrificing the rigor of the evaluation. Guidance to be more proactive in creating partnerships and engaging top industry performers. That is something that we've all wanted to do, and there's good opportunity in this. To create more accessible framework, which I mentioned before, and importantly, various on-ramps for less mature organizations so that Baldrige is easier to lean into, participate in, and get benefit from. So our next steps, again, finalizing a proposal with the Department of Commerce, getting their buy-in to that. And then once we have that high-level buy-in, it's time to really get busy with the Baldrige community and fleshing out the details of exactly what a path forward is going to look like. And our hope still is to implement a revised award process for 2023, noting it would have to be quite different and simpler in terms of the overall timeline and process in order to make that happen in 2023. But again, that is one of the goals. So I believe that's all I have. Jerry, next slide, and we'll see if that's it. Very good. I look forward to questions later.
Okay, thanks for that update, Bob. Truly appreciate everything you and the team are doing up there in DC. I just want to give a few updates here on some of the things that are happening at the foundation. First of all, with our advocacy mission, want to continue to thank the current administration for their continued support of the Baldrige program, especially in the federal budget, and also members of both the Senate and the House. We continue to experience a great deal of bipartisan support in both the House and the Senate for Baldrige. For those of you who will have the opportunity to attend Quest this year, Congressman Bob Adderholt from Alabama, who's been exceptionally supportive of Baldrige, not only throughout the state of Alabama, but also nationwide, will be receiving one of the foundation's leadership awards for excellence in the government sector. On the fundraising side, I'd like to thank each and every one of you who continue to donate to the foundation. No gift is too small. We appreciate all of the support during Giving Tuesday last November, and always have to take the opportunity to thank our most valued donors, those who make up the Mac Baldrige Society. They are the trustees for the Institute for Performance Excellence, and without their support, programs like this would not be possible. A little bit about our training programs. We've expanded now to over 400 training programs, all online. You can do these at your own pace through the Institute. And some of our thought leadership items I'd like to talk about. The new Chronicle for Leadership and Management is out. It is online, available for you to download for free on our website. A little bit about the activities over the last week. I want to especially thank Deborah Bowen and David Bartholomew up at the ACHE, the American Healthcare Executives, met this week. 6,000, close to 6,000 of them nationwide in Chicago. We conducted a CEO roundtable up there, which was extremely successful to kick off the week's events on a Sunday. And I had the opportunity to present on workforce engagement to everybody who attended the week's activities. Bi-weekly leadership podcasts are still on our website. I encourage everybody to tune into those. They're really exciting, especially the last few that we've had that have focused in on senior leadership and leadership development. Again, lots of training opportunities. I want to showcase one particular training opportunity we have on our website this week, especially coming out of ACHE, because there's a lot of discussion about it, and that was leading high performance teams. This is an exciting course, not only for leaders, but for doctors and nurses who lead small teams as well, especially on shifts and those types of leaders. Real exciting topic about how to engage those that you lead and to get them to turn into a high performing team. Lastly, I want to thank Josh Rossett, who has turned again a very successful sponsorship, exciting sponsorship program in for Quest, in support of Quest. I want to thank all of the sponsors who will be there for their continued support of the Baldrige program. It's without their support, we could not make it happen. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Al. I'm Brian Lassiter, chair of the Alliance for Performance Excellence, which is the consortium or network of all the local, state, regional, sector Baldrige-based programs across the country and the world, and a few other supporting members supporting of our mission of driving excellence. I only have one page, but I have a few things to share in terms of update that I think will be interesting and exciting for you all to hear. And then I'll certainly be around for questions at the end if there are some. First is this, you'll see 2022 on the page with 23 just footnoted at the top. We are a little late, but right in the middle of resetting our plans for a couple of reasons. One, we just heard from Bob in the national review that's taking place, and that will trickle down to the Alliance too, I think impacting all of our award programs and all the organizations we run. So we're waiting to set some of our priorities for the rest of 23 and 24 with an eye towards what comes out of that review. But we're also taking a look at ourselves, and you see the number 1 and number 4 strategic priorities there in the left column. We started this work last year and have certainly continued it. If there's about 100 folks or more on the line, if you haven't done your own organization profile, this is a little bit of taking your own medicine. We started that, and it's far more complicated and far more revealing than you might expect, especially for an organization like ours that's all volunteer led and really a network of 29 independent programs that each serve different masters. So we are right in the middle of what we're calling a visioning exercise, really pulling out 5 or 6 key questions of the profile, where we have some agreement, but not unilateral agreement. And we've tasked all of our individual members to create a vision statement of what the Alliance could look like in the future that satisfies our members' needs and really generates value for the Alliance and all the rest that we serve. It's a fascinating exercise. The board will come together here in a month or so to reflect on the findings and to set direction for 23 and beyond. It'll also reset our scorecard measures. You see them on the right. Those were pending and proposed. They're not yet final, but our board actually meets later this afternoon to take a shot at finalizing our own metrics, a little bit of category 4 and 7 ourselves, of how we measure the effectiveness of the Alliance. So that continues. We've done some internal work in the last year or so. You see objective number 2, priority number 2 there, identify and document core processes. The one that's noteworthy is we have changed a lot of our financial in-house accounting and bookkeeping procedures, outsourcing some of it to a third party, changing the way other processes are done. And we're taking a look at some other key processes that will add value to our members in the broader community. We'll hear from Stephanie here in a second, but one of our key partners and one of our members is Communities of Excellence 2026. We've been working together for several years now and have come to realize for them to achieve their 5-year plan, they need to work more heavily with the Alliance and our members. And so we plan to have a concentrated effort, a more permanent team that looks at that has membership from both the Communities of Excellence and the Alliance. It does represent a core process of ours of we do scale up more evaluation of communities across the nation, give out more recognition, more awards, and advance the whole concept of community excellence. In the marketing space, we've done made a lot of progress hiring our marketing specialist last year for the Alliance. Marketing is a challenge for the entire enterprise, as you all know. I think we're the nation's best kept secret, unfortunately. And so the Alliance has spent quite a bit of time last year building some collateral material, standardizing some of the message. On the plans this year are to revise our website, take a look at our branding. Imagine 29 independent programs that each have Baldrige as the foundation of their mission, but each have a different brand name and a different way of positioning in the marketplace and a different way of delivering in some of the products in the marketplace. So all of that work is on the plate for this year's plan. And then the final thing I'll mention is Baldrige Fall Conference, which is not anywhere on the page, interestingly enough, but a key product that we offer in collaboration with the Baldrige program and the foundation every fall. It's become standard operating procedure, so it's no longer a strategic objective of ours, although it's really key to our success. So it is October 16, 17 this year. Main conference will be on the 17th, pre-conferences and the Communities of Excellence conference on the 16th. It'll also be streamed nation and perhaps worldwide, something new this year that we're attempting to expand accessibility and reach beyond those that can just attend in person. I didn't mention the in-person component will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The location we had hoped to host the conference 2020, I think it was, right at the beginning of COVID, and had to go online. So mark that on your calendars if it's not already there, and a lot more information is forthcoming. So a lot going on in the Alliance. We're very excited about it. We consider ourselves the front door or the feeder system to the national program and to performance excellence in general. So if you're not already engaged with your program, look us up at, what is the website? I should have it at the top of my mind. BaldrigeAlliance.org, I believe it is, and find your state or regional program that way. With that, Al, that's my report. And I think from here we go to Stephanie.
Thanks, Brian. Steph?
All right, well, good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are, and thanks for joining today. I am excited to give this update, and I do want to acknowledge we are proud members of the Alliance for Performance Excellence, and so appreciate hearing the update from Brian. And I do want to add that Communities of Excellence is also literally today going to submit our organizational profile to one of the local Alliance programs. So I strongly encourage you all as well. It really is an eye-opening, great process to go through. Now, it's about a year ago that Communities of Excellence as an organization started a new kind of bold 5-year strategy. And I'm excited to say it's going really well. We're thrilled with the progress and the growth that we've seen in the last year and what we see coming ahead in the next few years. I look forward to this next year again so I can update you even more on what's been going on. Part of that was this new Envision Future and Why We Exist statement that's really helped drive us and led to these 3 strategic areas of concentration that we've really been focusing on over the last year and will continue to, which is to actively support and energize high-performing Baldrige Enterprise, increase our capability and capacity to support communities, and become the Center for Community Performance Excellence Resources and Knowledge. There's a lot in there, but there is a lot of growth going on, and we're really looking forward to it. One of the biggest accomplishments we had in the past year happened over this summer, and that was when the authorization to add community as the newest Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award category was approved by Congress. It was part of the CHIPS and Science Act of 2023 that President Biden signed into law in July. And so it's just been a great time of celebration. We really appreciate everybody's support, including the Baldrige Enterprise, Baldrige Foundation, and the program and the Alliance in helping make that happen. If you could go to the next slide, please. So I just want to give you kind of a little snapshot of some of the different things that are going on with us right now. Our flagship program is our National Learning Collaborative. This is our 6th year that we've been doing this. So every October, we bring in a new cohort of communities that goes through a curriculum of we now call phases. So up to 3 phases of learning and sharing with other communities. And then the communities can move into our alumni program, which grows every year and helps them continue on this journey and continue to be able to learn and share with each other. This past October, we brought in 8 new communities, and you can see the map on the left side. It's a little bit kind of hard to read, but I think what stands out is the diversity of communities across the country of size and scope. working on filling in some of those other states. So happy to say that we are just about to announce our marketing for next year's Learning Collaborative cohort beginning in October. So if you are thinking about your community getting involved, if you're an organization that's thinking about stepping up and supporting this on behalf of your community, we really look forward to hearing from you and talking about what this could look like. The picture on the bottom is from the fall conference in San Diego. It was a great celebration for us, a great time to bring community leaders together from across the country. The picture is from a reception we had, and this is almost everybody who was in attendance, as well as some of the Alliance and Baldrige Enterprise members. So it was a really fun celebration for us. In addition, we continue to have our own assessment and recognition program, and with the authorization and hopefully pending appropriation, though we don't know exactly when, we will eventually be working with the Baldrige program to transition this over to them. For this coming year, we'll continue to administer our assessment and recognition program. Last year, we had 15 communities apply. This year, we could potentially have up to 25 or more. So we're really looking forward to that, and definitely would love to see you all volunteer as examiners for us. It's a fun process, different than an organization, and I think people enjoy it. We are also doing a revision to the Communities of Excellence framework. So the process that Bob described earlier, we are trying to follow as much as we can, as well as we go through this, and expect to have a new version released this August. So keep an eye out for that. One of the additional offerings we offer is a course called Preparing for Your Community Excellence Journey. It's a short spring course that's kind of just a taste of the Communities of Excellence framework and what it looks like. We are happy to say, sorry for you that it is full for this year, but we continue to think about and look for more programs to add. And that's part of our goal, is to expand the ways that we're supporting communities and supporting people interested in getting involved in communities of excellence. One of the last things I want to share is, as part of this growth, we're also adding a lot of new tools and opportunities for how communities can continue to use the criteria and make it accessible to them. One of them that you can see here in very small print at the bottom is part of our community scorecard toolkit. We know how difficult data is as an organization. Think about if you're a community and a bunch of different organizations trying to make sense of data. And so, while we don't want to prescribe what data communities use, we do want to lend a helpful hand. And one of the first pieces of that is this set of high-level metrics that our communities can use as a starting point, as well as to benchmark with each other. And we continue to expand that toolkit and provide more resources for communities around data literacy, cascading metrics, and coming very soon is an actual app and technology where you can actually bring up that data for your own community. Finally, as Bob mentioned, with the Quest for Excellence conference, we're really excited to be a part of that. We are having 3 amazing leaders from West Kendall, Florida, San Diego South region, and Greater Fremont, Ohio, sharing their stories in that plenary session. And we have 3 concurrent sessions as well, one on engagement, one on strategy, and one on measurement. And I really hope that if you're going to be there, you come listen to these stories of these community leaders and what they've been accomplishing. If you're wondering, I'm not part of a community group, maybe I don't have a role there. There's a lot as an organization that you can take away from these, and also kind of learn about how you can contribute to your community within these. So again, thank you for listening, and really looking forward to the next year ahead and seeing you all get involved.
Hey, thanks so much for that great update, Steph. We truly appreciate it. We got a few questions here from the audience, and Bob, I'm going to throw the first one at you. And the question is around the process this year that was used for evaluating those who wanted to take advantage of a feedback-only type of review. If you could talk to that a little bit and the feedback that you're getting from those organizations that participated.
Sure, thanks, Al. Yeah, last year when the award process was paused, we did go out and engage with the Baldrige community to understand the appetite for a non-award based evaluation. And we were really, really pleased that so many organizations who had planned to apply stayed in that process. And so the review was really mirrored what we had intended to do last year as the award process. However, it did not include site visits, as there was no judging involved in the process last year. But the process had been modified based on some of the recommendations that had come out of some improvement efforts that initiated really before COVID even began, but then got put on hold with all the impact from COVID. So we rolled out those changes, included process changes as well as changes to the feedback report. We were really pleased that in most cases, those reports were very much appreciated, particularly the new formatting. The idea that we can provide more information, simpler information to organizations so that they don't have to put a lot of time and effort in trying to understand what it is we're trying to tell them. That was very, very appreciated. And so certain aspects of those changes will certainly be carried forward in whatever award process, what the award process looks like going forward. But that's sort of what we've heard and where we are.
Okay, great. Steph, our next question would come to you, and that is, could you talk to a little bit more about training for communities as they consider or go through this Communities of Excellence process?
I'd be happy to. So what's been really fun is, as we've been doing this now for 6 years, we've learned so much about how to present this to different leaders in communities, those who maybe have never heard of Baldrige and aren't familiar with it, those who are familiar with Baldrige but maybe haven't had a lot of experience in community engagement and development. And so we have, what we do now is we really start with a focus on results. And so we've developed this into 3 phases, because what we've learned is that everyone goes at a different pace. So to say it's a 3-year curriculum isn't fair to those who have to move at what we call, we say change happens at the speed of trust. We have to really move at a pace that's comfortable for the community. There's no right way to do it. So in the first phase of the Learning Collaborative, we really focus on bringing together different people in your community and getting everyone on the same page, thinking about your community in the same way. We do that using the community profile as a helpful tool, but also a number of other tools we've developed, including looking at the data and really identifying what are the results you're looking for, what are the key metrics in your community, what's your sense of urgency. In the second year, we really focus on adding process to many of those things, developing a shared community strategy and action plans, and then metrics to align with those. And in the third, I already said here, I'm still transitioning over. And then in the third phase, we then help really focus on sustainability and adding additional processes like innovation, agility, things that are really going to help sustain and grow your work over time. And then what happens is in the alumni, you then can continue to dive deeper into some of the concepts that maybe weren't quite ready for in the Learning Collaborative phases. And that as your excellence group and your community work grows, you're ready to challenge ourselves a little more and look a little more deeper into some of these key processes. So great question. It's a fun experience.
Our next question, I think Bob and Brian might both want to try to tackle this one together. It's about the Job Quality Toolkit. Will there be any discussion or presentations on it at Quest this year? And are state programs using the new Job Quality Toolkit, and is there training available at the state level?
So I'll start, Brian, and you can fill in. Yes, there is going to be a session on the Job Quality Toolkit at Quest. I believe it is on Tuesday morning, if I'm not mistaken. And the intent there is to familiarize folks with the Job Quality Toolkit, understand what it is intended to do. It is really a guide that, again, it's non-prescriptive, of course, but based on a lot of research and engagement with experts in this space, it was clear that there are a number of drivers of what constitutes a high quality job. And so we have identified what those drivers are. Many organizations struggle to address those things well. And as a result, they have a hard time recruiting and retaining and engaging their staff. And so the purpose here is to help organizations understand some strategies and actions that they can take in order to improve and move those drivers in order to enhance their workforce retention, satisfaction, and engagement. And Brian, I'll turn it to you to talk about the Alliance's role.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. It's early stage. I know a few Alliance member programs have tinkered with the toolkit. I don't want to call out names because I'll probably miss those that I'm unaware of, but California, for one, is one that's kind of dug into it and considering offering different programming against the toolkit and so forth. And I believe a few others are too. It's pretty new to us too. Bob, you and your team have visited with the Alliance a couple of times, and we're still exploring how we might package it as a way to make it useful to the marketplace. So I think that's yet to come, but we're excited to help get it into the hands of leaders that could use it.
And I'll just add that we are also partnering with the MEP, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, to roll out the Job Quality Toolkit. And that is actually providing a lot of learnings that can be shared with the Alliance that will help us make sure that when it is sort of fully rolled out, it'll be as effective as we want it to be.
Okay, I think I'll take the next question because it's about our CEO roundtables that the foundation is sponsoring around the country. Is that program going to expand into other sectors other than healthcare and include others other than simply CEOs? And the answer is yes, all the way around. We plan on rolling out a manufacturing CEO roundtable nationally here sometime in the summer, early fall. And in addition to that, one of the things that we learned with our last CEO roundtable here earlier this week is that we brought in some CNOs and CMOs from hospitals, and several of the chief nursing officers approached us and asked us if we could do chief nursing officer roundtable events. And so we're going to be exploring how to put that together sometime over the summer, and hopefully sometime early in the fall, you will see a chief nursing officer roundtable. And so we're excited to expand that opportunity, which will also include podcasts in those specific areas, because the discussion that takes place in the roundtable is actually set in some of the podcast thought leadership presentations that are made throughout the year. That's where we get that content. And so please be watching for that and are expanding into those areas again sometime over the summer and early fall. Our next CEO roundtable is a healthcare one again, and it is the 12th and 13th of October in Atlanta, Georgia. And so if you have an interest in attending that, please let us know, and we will make sure that you get an invitation. Our next question, again, is for, I think, Bob and maybe Brian to both talk to, and that is if our organization is currently at the state level preparing to go through the process to the national level, with the changes that are happening at the national level, is all of the work that we're doing now still going to prepare us for what comes next?
So unequivocally, I'm going to say yes. Even without knowing exactly what that means, what that looks like, there is no question that the Baldrige framework and the content therein that you are working to improve your performance related to will be beneficial and useful, not just for any sort of future evaluation and recognition program you might participate in, whether that's at the Alliance level or the national level. It is very valuable and beneficial for your organization, period, and its performance. And that is ultimately what we intend and have always intended to assess through the award process, is the organization's performance. How well are you doing, right? And how long have you been doing it that well? So yes, it is valuable. I would not slow down your efforts.
Yeah, just to build on that, Bob, I totally agree. I think if anything, the process should be streamlined and in some ways easier. I don't want to use that word, but it might be a little easier in the future to engage with either the state programs or the national program. But the standard of excellence is still the standard of excellence. So Bob, as Bob said, your work now will continue regardless of how the process changes moving forward. So I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't pause your excellence efforts to wait for the changes at the national or state levels. It'll be pretty seamless. And when we roll that out, you'll just continue the journey.
Okay, great. Our next question is for Bob again here, and that is, Bob, when do you look at re-engaging the Board of Examiners?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Again, the hope for this year is still to have an award process. We have not gone out and recruited and selected examiners for this year because we just don't know what we'd be training them to do at the moment. So our intention is, as soon as we have a clearer picture of what that's going to look like, we will go out and we will be recruiting and training examiners. Process will probably be different than it usually has been. That process will need to be streamlined like everything else if we're going to make it happen in 2023. But my hope is very soon we'll be able to sort of re-engage the board and get things moving in terms of getting them up to speed on what we're going to need them to do and what the evaluation process looks like.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add to that, being a former state program manager, is if you're a national examiner looking to keep your skills sharp, our state programs out there could use your help and be more than willing to take you on. With that, I don't have any more questions from the audience. Any closing comments or anything that you guys would like to point out before we close things up here?
I guess I would just say that I think we have a great opportunity in front of us, all of us, in how we work together, in the potential changes that are coming. I think we all will benefit from the recommendations that, at least thus far, have been coming out of the review. So I look forward to this and working with all of you and our larger community to strengthen Baldrige and to increase our impact for all.
Yeah, if we're just going around the horn, I'll build on what you said there, Bob. I think this is a remarkable time for the whole Baldrige Enterprise. It's exciting. I think we're all a little, I'll speak for myself. I was a little nervous when you take a pause in the national program and look in the drawers and find ways to improve it and make it more accessible. But I'm excited about what's coming out of this, and the relevance of the Baldrige program and the whole Baldrige Enterprise, this whole Baldrige effort, is just as relevant today as it was, maybe more so than in the 80s when it was first created. The words may be a little different, the competition globally is a little different, but the need is still there. And I think it may be even greater, because now we're working with all types of organizations where it was just businesses in the beginning. And now we're working with communities when it was just organizations in the beginning. The impact that we can have, I think, nationally and internationally on driving performance is great. So I'm excited about where the future might take us.
Stephanie, any closing comments?
I felt like those were pretty well said. I would just echo, I think this has been a really good challenge for us. And it's just as I've examined kind of Baldrige and been a part of this review, it's sort of re-emphasized to me how important it is. And as I've gotten to do this with communities, I've just seen how much impact it can have. So I'm looking forward to the years ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to echo Bob and Brian's comments here and give you a quick observation. You know, when I presented earlier in the week at ACHE, there were over 300 people in the room, 300. It was one of the largest breakout sessions at the entire conference. And afterwards, 25 to 30 people at least, and all leaders, you know, stayed by because they wanted to learn more about how to engage with the state program. They wanted to learn more about the national program, becoming examiners. I mean, there's a thirst for knowledge out there, and a lot of people still recognize Baldrige as the premier framework to use to run your organization out there. So there's still a great deal of interest, I can tell you that. And it re-energized me, and I was really excited to have that opportunity. So with that, I'm going to close things up here and thank the four of you for coming on board today, or three of you for coming on board and giving such a great update to what's going on in each of your lanes. And thanks again to all of our donors and sponsors out there who make programs like today possible. Just as a quick reminder to everybody, we will have the recorded version of this webinar as well as the slides available on our website sometime early next week, if you missed it or want to pull more of your teammates in to listen. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in today. Please be safe out there, and we look forward to seeing you at Quest in a couple weeks.